Friends, foes, and WKDU Nation, welcome. I am joined here today with singer-songwriter extraordinaire and one of the hosts of the Binge-topia podcast. This is Eliza McLamb. Eliza, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, and you are coming out with an album in January.
hmm
It's called Going Through It. The first three singles are currently out. I've really been loving them. I've been playing them on my show. I know my friends have been playing them on theirs. Getting a lot of love for this album cycle at the station, and I wanted to know what you are most excited about for this rollout.
Well, thank you so much for playing the songs. Thank you to everybody who's playing the songs on radio stations. I am really excited to just have my first cohesive collection of songs out there. It's the first time I've ever been able to make a full length record, and it's my debut, so that's always certainly a little exciting. But yeah, I'm proud of the project as a whole, and that's been really cool to create.
And I saw that you worked with Illuminati Hotties for the production on this one. How was working with them for that? I mean, they've been doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah is like the powerhouse of that whole band, does their production, did my production. She's also like one of my best friends. And it's been really wonderful getting to work with her, getting to work with somebody who just really gets the vision and understands it, and respects what I have to put into it while also like bringing her expertise. I just think she's like a total badass. I love the Hotties stuff. When I toured with them last year, it was so fun. I felt like I just kind of scammed the system by being able to see like 20 free Hotties shows. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it definitely comes out in kind of the shift in sound that you're doing with this record, because your previous stuff was kind of reminiscent of like more like bare bones singer-songwriter, kind of like Kimya Dawson, was what I heard the most in it. How like has this new, team working on the production, how has that helped you develop your sound further?
Well, Sarah also did production on Salt Circle. And that I think spoke to more of just like the place that I was in. I think honestly, working on the new record was inspired a lot by performing live and understanding like the magic and the beauty of a band. So, yeah, it was my first time kind of writing with the idea of a full band arrangement in mind. And that was really cool to kind of put to work. Yeah, keeping in mind like the full band arrangement was really crucial, like this time around, especially really getting into like I have this line in Salt Circle, I don't know how to deal with my anger yet. And this record is definitely a place where that question gets answered in a way. So we needed that kind of bigger, more rocky sound. Sarah definitely contributed to that. Jacob Blizzard, who played guitar on the record, he played for Lucy Dacus, did music arrangement for Boy Genius. He has a lot of like great tools in that wheelhouse, and he definitely brought a lot of it with the guitar for sure.
Yeah, it's sounding. I'm really excited to hear the full album. I've still really been digging the singles. Speaking of which, I wanted to kind of talk about like how the stories behind both Anything You Want and Mythologize Me, I feel like are kind of two sides of the same coin, in how Anything You Want is like internal issues are kind of, unappealing in romantic relationships, but how the last line of Mythologize Me, the you won't like me when I'm better. Can you kind of go deeper into that?
Yeah, into like the thematic like lines between both songs, or about that line in Mythologize Me in particular.
Kind of the thematic parallels between the two songs.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really like distinct about them is that Mythologize Me is a side A song, and Anything You Want is a side B song. And the record is structured in such a way where the the visual that I had in my mind is kind of like a plunge pool. So you start at the top of it and you dive all the way down to the bottom and come back up. So there is like a Marionic Trench of the album, which is like an incredibly dark personal song that cuts it right down the middle. And so, and before, that's then the side B comes, and then that's when you kind of take the lessons with you. So Mythologize Me is definitely a song that encapsulates like a feeling that happened before I reached that bottom pit where I feel like I really had like to face a lot of stuff. So Mythologize Me is very much a song about like deflection and about like an unwillingness to look beneath. It's this like, just everybody told me that like being fucked up would make me interesting and cool, but I just like feel kind of crazy, and everyone thinks I'm kind of crazy and wants to like ascribe this identity to me that I don't feel like I align with, but I don't know what identity I align with. So I guess that's fucking fine. It's like a lot of just rage and projection and unwillingness to like look inside, and anything you want, you can't hit the Marionic Trench and immediately be like, great, now I'm super comfortable with myself and like I know everything and I'm perfectly healed. Anything you want is definitely about going through like the slog of trying to heal and trying to confront the darkness within you, and being really like in some ways afraid of yourself and afraid of other people seeing that darkness. So I think anything you want, really, like that song thematically has to come after Mythologize Me, because Mythologize Me is where you kind of learn that lesson.
Mhm. And I know in Mythologize Me, you kind of touch on this concept of like good damage and being able to use the damage for some kind of artistic output or some kind of benefit in the future, which I'm a really big BoJack Horseman fan. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
it came from the Diane storyline. I feel like I like saw like very um similar explanations in both of those. Because I like even when I saw that part of the show for the first time, and also that verse that it's mentioned in, it really resonated with me because it does seem like, what is it all worth if you don't get anything out of it on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of the show as well. And like, I was like, oh my God, I always think about this concept. That's so cool. And it just showed up in there.
Mhm. And then I'm a very big researcher when I do my interviews, so I did read a good handful of your writing on Substack, and I found the one on like how the music industry has changed with TikTok. I found that one very interesting because that's something, I'm a music business student, and that's something that's
Mm.
been spoken about in my classes thoroughly. And I really find it interesting how you kind of have done the opposite of what a lot of artists have, where you have done your best to separate yourself from the identity of like someone that kind of got their break on TikTok. Because I see a lot of people and a lot of artists that really try to lean into it. My friends that are in bands are constantly promoting their work on TikTok, whether they like it or not. They feel like it's the only way that they can um, garner a fan base that they wouldn't have had otherwise. What has your experience been in trying to break out of that mold? Because like even I did not find you through TikTok. I actually found you through Twitter. So
Really?
I'm a big
Wow.
Twitter girl. So it's like there are a decent amount of like bands and artists that I know about first because of Twitter.
Wow, great resource. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people see TikTok promotion as like a necessary evil, which I totally understand. We're kind of at this point where it's the first time really that the sharing and promotion of music has gotten even a little bit democratized, where people who, the internet gives you a space that you can cast a wide net in a way that artists haven't really been able to do. Like a TikTok can reach 1 million people, and that like having your music reach 1 million people in the 90s like usually required like so much money, years of your life, all of that stuff. And that has kind of like been collapsed by TikTok, which in a way is good but also is bad. And that's like, that's obviously the very simplistic idea of it, and I have talked extensively about it on my Substack. But I think for me, I just I want to really fight back against this idea that in order to get listeners for our music, in order to get more fans, we need to simplify ourselves and we need to turn ourselves into a commodity, and not an artist. And I think if you want to succeed on TikTok, if you have the kind of music that is like I don't know, 100 gecs would do fucking great on TikTok, and they do. And that's not to denigrate 100 gecs. They have great music, but it fits into a very specific category of like pretty accessible, like easily grasped, catchy and fun. And those songs do really well on TikTok. But if you make other songs that don't fit that mold, you have to force them into the hole of catchy and fun or understandable. And for me, writing my songs, I never want somebody to listen to my song one time and come away thinking, oh, I know what that's about. Like, I know everything there is to know about this song. I spend a lot of time making it. I spend a lot of time making sure it's complex. And I just think there's got to be people that are bucking against this pressure to constantly commodify ourselves and to sell it online. And it's also easier for me to say because I started building my platform on TikTok, in part, and also with my podcast. And I have another job that pays my rent so that I don't have to worry about like making money off the music directly. But I feel because I'm in this position, it actually gives me more room to get away from that. And it feels gross and bad to me, at least, to post on TikTok. It feels like I want to do the least amount of marketing that I can, and I want to keep my art as true as I can. And TikTok, for me, using it means that I can't keep my art as true as I would like it to be. And if that means that my career grows slower or that I never reach superstar fame, that's fine, because I would rather retain fans who are really interested in thinking deeply about the music than people who are just going to stream it on Spotify. It's really not like comparable to me, and which I'd prefer.
Absolutely. And I've really noticed a lot when going to concerts that have younger crowds that it's become like the consumer is part of the show. And especially when it's artists that have they have reestablished careers, but they have songs that became bigger on TikTok. I'm thinking like I just saw Faye Webster and
Mhm.
like Biba Doobie. There are songs where I'm like, oh, I know that like 10 million phones are
Yeah.
about to raise, and it's going to be super loud for this one verse, and then not
And
again.
then quiet.
It
Mhm.
feels like we're in a place where a lot of artists are only being appreciated for like what were those things called in the 90s, like the hit clips.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that. We're back around to that. It's been 30
Yeah.
years and now we're in the same spot that we were before, except through a different medium.
Yeah, and I mean that's commodification too, right? There's people who go to the concert to take a TikTok of somebody singing one certain line live, and in that case you're not going to experience, God, I sound so fucking like old man yelling at cloud, like.
I've been like this too. It's
But
completely
it makes me sad because a concert is an experience. I mean, a ton of people talk about this. Like Mitski, like put out a big thing of like, I would really prefer to see your face and not your phone. And I think that like live music is such a beautiful experience. It's like a rare thing that we get to like be in uninterrupted company with like people who we really look up to, whose art we love. And it's sad that a lot of that is just turning into a thing where you can put on your Twitter header, like I've been at Barricade at all these shows, like I've collected clips from all these shows. I like record the entire concert in case one person says something that I can put on my Twitter. Like that is a collection of like they're collectibles basically. It's commodity, and that is like kind of an upsetting feature of the space now, I think.
for sure. And you even like back to kind of the um square peg and circular hole kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like um one of my friends who is in a band with his girlfriend, and I know he's maybe gonna watch this. Hammer, I love you. I'm going to use you as an example right now. Um and it's just all of the TikToks that he's been kind of encouraged to make are like, if you like modern baseball and
Mhm.
Marietta and oh so you would like our music, or our music is made for people who haven't done their laundry in 3 weeks and
Mhm.
uh are dreading calling their dad on Thursday. It's like
Right.
it's like the hyper individuality kind of thing of like, if I want to be this archetype, I need to do this and this,
Mhm.
and that's being extended into music, which potentially is damaging. There's kind of a lot of back and forth on that, but
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talk about that marketing style in that essay that you were referencing, where
Mhm.
it's just like, if like the logical conclusion of marketing your song as this is for this kind of person is that the expectation is that the artist is supposed to tell you if you will like the song, is going to categorize you then have to categorize yourself, you then have to categorize the song based on like these like instructions. And then it's like, okay, well, why would I listen to a full record if I'm going to hear the best 30 seconds of it on TikTok? Like, or why would I listen to it unless I know it's for me, unless somebody has come to tell me that this is for me? And I think that puts audiences in like a really passive, also like, what's the other word I'm looking for? Um, the honk just outside my window. Oh God. Okay. I cannot. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's really killing me. This is a horrific thing to do in an interview, is to just hold it hostage. Okay. They feel unnecessarily deserving of like explanation, of categorization, of like having some meaning spoon fed to them, which I think, yeah, is bad.
yeah, and it definitely kind of puts the need for people to be multifaceted, kind of
Hmm.
puts that to the side, because it's like, well, I'm trying to be this kind of person, so I need to mold myself into what I perceive as that archetype. Um, and I definitely saw it a lot at All Things Go,
Hmm.
that I went to. When was that? Like a couple months ago. Um, so many people were wearing the same outfit. Like
Mm.
my friend like said to me as we were walking in, it's like every time you see like the white Brandy Melville maxi skirt, take a shot.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's like always going to be part of how young people also just like find their way and figure it out, is like, listening to certain bands or like wearing these types of clothes. It's before you do the really hard work of, or during while you are doing the hard work of figuring out like how to identify yourself and to others, you are encouraged to identify with like brand and with other things like that. And it's always been that way for clothes and whatever, and music always to a certain extent as well. But I think it's reaching a precipice now where it's a little concerning.
mhm. Yeah, very interesting topic, but we'll get back into talking about the album. What would you say were your biggest influences for this album, or what are things that you've been, listening to recently that you feel are reflected a lot in this album?
Hmm. I there's like I didn't have a ton of concrete musical influences for this album, which when you hear the full record, I think will maybe make a lot of sense. I'm not saying that I made this like totally unique album, but really just that stylistically it goes kind of all over the place. So I'm taking bits and pieces from a lot of stuff. Like obviously I am a big fan of like Sufjan Stevens, Adrian Lenker for like their lyricism and that like really beautiful kind of like guitar style. There's the last track on the record we recorded all sitting around one microphone, which was very Big Thief of us. And some of the more rock stuff, I really love like Brittany Howard's work. I mean, I love like a lot of the hottie stuff too. Like that, they honestly were a great sonic reference for me. But really, this is a collection of songs that I feel like spans a lot of different sounds and a lot of different feelings, because that's kind of what this period and this experience of like moving from teenagehood into adulthood felt like for me. I felt that I was, when I was making it, I was like, wow, like, are these songs cohesive? And then I was like, life isn't cohesive. Like, there's times when, like, I want to scream and, like, be a little punkier and whatever, kind of throw a fit, like, mythologize me. And then there's songs like, other places in the record where it's more softer and contemplative. And to me, it just made sense to have everything be in the same basket because thematically it all just, it is cohesive in that way.
What made you choose the singles that you did?
That's a great question. I definitely am trying to throw people off a little bit. This next single that's going to come out in December called 16, that is the Marianic Trench song. That's the absolute bottom of the album. So
Mhm.
I think I wanted to give people, I mean, my manager when talking with him, because I really I don't like releasing a ton of singles. I would prefer to just give people the album, but I know it's part of the cycle that you have to do promotionally. And my manager was like, the singles are to help more people find you. The fans will listen to the album, so don't worry about that. So you really should do like the songs that you think are going to be that are going to hook people that may not already know your stuff. Um, and so I picked these three songs, which, are not by any means like light songs, but are, I think, a little more upbeat, a little like easier to listen to, a little more accessible. And it may set people up to think that I'm making kind of like a pop rock album. And then you're going to hear the next single and hopefully everybody's going to be like, what? Like, why would this have ever been a single? Like, why would you put it on this album that I thought was coming together? So that was really kind of because I knew I was going to have to release more singles than was my preference. I'm at least going to kind of, you know, throw everybody off a little bit.
I like I think honestly the Mitski rollout was kind of like that too.
Mm,
Especially because like um yeah, Bug like an angel being this whole like kind of orchestral like choir kind of thing, and then a lot of the album actually being like alt country. Like that's what I
hmm.
would describe that album as. Like I do think it's very interesting to be thrown off by single choice. And then the last thing I wanted to ask was what you are most excited about for going on your first headline tour.
That's such a good question. I'm excited to really be able to like throw myself into the rhythm of the music. I'm excited to like craft a stage performance that I feel good about and proud of. I think a lot of times when I have toured in the past, I've just like gotten up there and played my songs. And this time I'm really grateful to be able to have the space to like put something together that feels cohesive and think really clearly about like the songs I want to sing and in what order and how to make it just like a great performance. And I mean touring is like my favorite thing I do all year. So this will be the longest I've ever been out on the road and I'm super excited to do it.
Mhm. And I know here in Philly you'll be playing at Philomoka, so I do feel
Mhm.
obligated to ask if you plan on projecting anything on the wall, because that's like the thing with Philomoka is when
Is
people,
it?
yeah, people like choose like kind of wacky stuff to project on the wall. Like I know people that have projected just like Family Guy funny moments or like Subway Surfers gameplay onto the screen.
Well, that's fantastic. I did not know that lore. So thank you for filling me in. Now I'll have to think about what I'm going to project on the wall.
You have a few months to think about
I
it.
do. Yeah. So I'll think long and hard before I get there.
Mhm. Okay, thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Um, yeah, you can catch Eliza at her show at Philomoka. I believe it's March 26th. Um,
Let me look it up and see because I actually don't know either.
I know it's during my spring break, so that was my best
Yeah, March 26th. You're right. Nice.
yeah, and make sure to stream going through it when it comes out this January.
Amazing. So nice to talk to you. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.